Alright, it's time to have a serious conversation about the new Galaxy S23 phones, specifically the S23 Plus and Ultra models, and why I think right now a lot of people are making a mistake when it comes to buying the S23 Plus or its big brother, the Ultra. So as far as the look and feel goes, the S22 Plus and Ultra used to look very different. Now the S23 Plus and Ultra still look different, but with the camera island removed from the S23 Plus and the screen of the Ultra becoming a little more flat, they are starting to look like they're from the same class of phones. But I wanted to tell you a few words about this seemingly less curved display of the S23 Ultra. One of the problems with the Galaxy S22 Ultra was that it had a very curved display. Now, a curved display on a phone can be really annoying, especially when your phone is this big, and especially when it has a stylus. But the S23 Ultra tries to fix some of that by reducing that curvature of the display just slightly. It's very minimal, and to be honest, it doesn't make that much of a difference yet. And I know you've probably seen some folks saying that it's so much easier to hold and things like that, but in reality it doesn't make that much of a difference yet. But when it comes to using the S Pen, the difference is more noticeable. On the other hand, with the Galaxy S23 Plus, that problem is completely gone as you get a completely flat screen, and unsurprisingly it's much easier to hold. Although you might not believe me until you've held an Ultra phone in your hands for a while and then switched to a Plus model. Because unlike the less curved display of the S23 Ultra, holding the S23 Plus in my hands does feel great, and it makes a difference for real. So what I'm trying to do here is just injecting you with some common sense. That's the whole point of this video, okay? So I've heard actually from some of you guys that you've heard from other reviewers that they say especially the Plus model has nothing to offer and the improvements are very incremental and changes are just, cosmetics, and it's not worth buying. I can see some fair points in that kind of talk, but to be honest, the differences in terms of software and some hardware capabilities between the Plus and Ultra models are not that substantial. So for example, the S23 Ultra's display has up to 2K or WQHD Plus resolution, although by default it's always on Full HD Plus, and most people will never ever change that to the highest resolution. The S23 Plus, on the other hand, only has a Full HD Plus display, and many people complain that it is not enough on this phone, and I agree, the more pixels there, the merrier, and it can be kind of disappointing. But let's not forget that the S23 Plus is also smaller than the Ultra, so you probably won't even notice the difference. And like I just told you, the Full HD Plus is the default resolution of the S23 Ultra, so if it was that bad, they wouldn't use it on a phone that big. Does that make sense? But what about battery life? After all, the Galaxy S23 Ultra is shipped with a 5000 mAh battery, while the Plus model only has 4700 mAh, right? Well, first of all, it's important to note that the S23 Plus's battery capacity has been increased from 4500 to 4700 mAh, but that the S23 Ultra's battery life hasn't changed at all. But don't forget, your phone's two biggest battery drainers are easy to overlook. In many cases, it is the screen's brightness and its resolution that take up the most battery power. And by the way, did I tell you that the S23 Ultra's resolution is by default set to Full HD Plus and not the highest resolution? I hope you see where I'm going with this, but basically what I'm trying to say is that all things considered, when it comes to battery power, the S23 Plus is very power efficient, and potentially even more so than the Ultra model. And I also mentioned the screen brightness, but actually the peak brightness of all the S23 phones are the same at 1750 nits. So you're not getting more out of the Ultra. Although I'm not implying that the current value is not bright enough. That's actually plenty, and it's insanely bright on all three phones. But I'm just saying that the larger display of the S23 Ultra will require more power to brighten up than the one on the S23 Plus. Alright, you got that? Good. Now here's one more reminder to all of us, especially those of us who want a device really performant, want to game a lot, want to consume a lot of content. So what's the first thing we think in this case? That's right, it's the processor. The SoC, or let's call it the processor of the S23 Plus, is exactly the same as the one in the Ultra. So we're talking about the same chip here. Same power, same performance. Although in reality, I must say, the performance is not exactly the same in two different types of phones. But all things considered, with the S23 Plus, you're paying less to get the same amount of power on your phone as the one on the Ultra. So unless you need that extra screen real estate for gaming or whatever, the S23 Plus is probably the better choice here. Because who knows, you might in fact get a little more out of the S23 Plus because the processor needs to work a little less hard to power up the smaller screen and everything related to that. Now, I've got to admit, the processor is not everything that matters, and there's one more thing that's really important, and that's the RAM. With the S23 Ultra, you get up to 12 gigabytes of RAM, but with the Plus model, the only option is 8 gigabytes. I definitely love to have more RAM on my phone. The more the merrier. I even think Samsung could have offered, a 16 gigabyte version on the Ultra model too, which they didn't. Having said that, I know one thing for sure. The 8 gigabytes on the S23 Plus is more than enough for most people, even if the primary use of your phone is gaming. Here's why I think this is the case. One of the highlights of the S23 Ultra is its multitasking capability. What is multitasking? It's doing at least two things at the same time, which means, opening two apps at the same time, which in turn means your phone needs more temporary storage to be able to run these apps simultaneously without any major hiccups. Hence, the more RAM. But with the S23 Plus, that's not the primary concern, right? Or at least that's the assumption, that you won't do a lot of multitasking. And so that's why I think 8 gigabytes is very capable for gaming as long as there aren't a lot of background apps running at the same time. Guys, I'm sure many people would buy the S23 Ultra just for its cameras. I know I would, but are they really that good? Or to put it another way, are the cameras on the S23 Plus really that bad compared to S23 Ultras? You see, that immediately gives you a different perspective. There's no doubt that the S23 Ultra can take breathtaking pictures with a 200 megapixel camera, but the 50 megapixel on other cameras of the S23 Plus are also just as good. In fact, let me tell you a story. Last year when I got the S22 Ultra, in the beginning I was very excited, and whenever I wanted to take a picture, I'd just use the 108 megapixel camera. But that just meant slower shots because of the processing time it took and unnecessarily filling up the storage of my phone. So I ended up using it less often, unless I really wanted lots of details in my shots, like a nature scene or something. So that's why I think unless you use the phone's 200 megapixel camera in your work, it shouldn't be the most important reason for you to buy the S23 Ultra. In fact, all professional cameras have much lower resolution. Bottom line is that if you're bad at photography, you will still take bad pictures with a 200 megapixel camera. Let that sink in. But there's even less merit in the idea of buying the S23 Ultra for videography, because the S23 Plus is also capable of shooting in 8K 30 FPS and all that jazz. But here's one reason that I think I would want to get the S23 Ultra instead of the Plus model, and that's if you don't have a tablet. It's pretty obvious using a stylus on a tablet is far more convenient and practical than on a phone. I feel like I would use my phone's S Pen a lot more if I didn't have a tablet with a stylus, and I thought some of you might think the same and agree with me, and it's worth mentioning. Regardless of that, I still use my phone's S Pen, but a little less because I use my tablet for that kind of stuff. So some of you might think that the price difference between the S23 Plus and Ultra is not big enough, but I hope now you see more value in the Plus model than before, and I really hope I've been able to connect these dots to help you make up your mind and find the right phone for your needs. I know my choice is the S23 Plus this time around, but if you're still unsure, you can watch the reviews of these two phones right now.